winning formula?
That is spin, you see. That means most of that is pretty meaningless because it's a bit like motherhood and apple pie. Everybody wants to do better. Everybody wants to make stable economies. Everybody wants to do better for the British economy. I think the Labour Party, to be fair, have been in a slightly difficult position for the reasons that Daniel mentioned earlier. You know, the COVID pandemic basically knocked out every conversation for 2 years. And, you know, other things have taken them. They need to put more flesh on the bones. They're beginning to put their policies together. You know, and it is always said that opposition parties, you know, they can win elections by default. It is for, you know, governments to lose elections. They're not going to win an election on that sort of waffle, frankly. They need to put some bones on it, some meat on it. He said he doesn't want to go down the route of renationalisation. The TUC are very keen on that.
And that's a major policy shift,
it is a major,
2017,
absolutely,
2019,
absolutely.
that was always in that.
But, you know, as Rachel Reeves said earlier today, or yesterday, you know, that was a policy from Jeremy Corbyn that saw them get the worst results since 1935. They've had to reinvent themselves after Jeremy Corbyn. But I think Keir Starmer's problem is he's too cautious. He needs to be bolder and he needs to say, what does this mean? In the same way that every time somebody says, oh, we need more for this, whether it's police, NHS or whatever, the government response is always, we've spent X billion pounds. That doesn't mean anything to most people. What you need to say is, we've spent this much money, that has meant this many extra nurses or police officers or whatever. Translate it into human language.
Go hard or go home. That is my human language. That's what Keir Starmer should be doing, putting himself out there. Daniel, very briefly.
Well, Jo has some very wise comments, but since it's brief, I'd just like to disagree with Keir Starmer in saying that our economy is performing worse and we are less resilient than our competitors. Germany is preparing to close down factories for the winter and ration hot water. Italy has lost its government and is practically broke. I mean, we are much more resilient than most of our competitors, and we're doing relatively well. And that's completely false. That's false spin that he just puts out there to give background to his case. It's not true.